Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah!
Yeah!
We got it! We got
New 52 booklet.
it! Somebody clip this one.
Hello there. Welcome to Comics League. I am Jared, and today I want to talk a little bit about why I don't think it's over concerning the SnyderVerse and everything like that. In light of a comment that was made on a video, on a live stream actually, that we did last night, RJ of Resident Justice put up there. He said, he asked a good question. He was like, okay, so if it's really not this whole Jay Oliva coming out and revealing like the whole reverse Flash story and everything, that could be them Jay Oliva indicating that it's over. So he's just telling us the story. Now, here's why I doubt that one assertion that it's over. Is that, remember, from what we know, those are the old storyboards, essentially, the old story plan. And what we know for sure is that Zack said when the Snyder Cut was coming out that he made all new storyboards, if in the case he got to come back, which I still think is going to happen. So what this indicates to me is that there's still like a chance this could happen. Anyone that tells you otherwise is kind of lying, because here's the thing, though. Essentially, these are the same people that before the Snyder Cut was even announced and everything like that, they were like, there's no way the Snyder Cut is released. There's no way. There was the same level of it will never happen was directed to release the Snyder Cut as it is restore the SnyderVerse, or at least let Zack do his thing. And we all know that happened. Now, you could say there were all these different factors that contributed to it. Well, we'll see what happens with the strike on how long that goes, because here's the other factor that people have to remember with that strike. Now, when you have, granted, there were other factors that influenced this, but with the Justice League Mortal situation, the strike ended up killing the movie. There were other factors. Now, what I'm thinking is, in terms of this could make Warner Brothers more desperate for money, because here's what you have to understand about Warner Brothers. They were already hemorrhaging cash from before this. We found out that like Max lost 1.5 million subs, and what this indicates to me is that they need money. And Zaslav seems like the type of dude that wants to invest in the DC brand, or at least believes in the DC brand at the very least. So what I think is going to happen is he could come to James Gunn and say, hey, we have this other universe too. Let's put all this money in there because we need money. This has demonstrated that it is profitable. So let's go in on this with your universe. So we're essentially doubling our DC output in a way. And we're making more people happy. And quite frankly, at this point, what this leads to is everyone is there were still going to be some people that aren't going to be happy about the way it's brought back or anything like that, or if it's on James Gunn, or if it's not Netflix. The point is, at least for the most part, story's done. And that way Zack can actually tell people, I wash my hands of this, the story's done, that's it. Because nothing from the Snyder camp whatsoever has indicated to me that it's over. Because otherwise, they would just come out and say, hey, listen, guys, I'm fine with it. It's done. I got the Snyder Cut out. That's just the way it works, guys. So here's a scenario that here's when I think we should be paying extra attention, maybe do some trending events. When after Rebel Moon comes out and near the end of Zack Snyder's contract with Netflix, which I believe expires middle of next year. So first you have the Rebel Moon success, and if that movie's when that movie's a success, what that indicates is that Zack Snyder is popular too. And then you know that Warner Brothers is going to be heavily trying to court him and bring him back, which would lead to, hey, guess what? Hey, Zach, you want to come back and maybe finish your story as an Elseworlds? Because here's another thing that we're not considering. There's a lot of conflicting information considering the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman movie. There's some saying it's Elseworlds. There are some saying it's not Elseworlds. It's in James Gunn's DCU. Let's assume they do the smarter thing and make it Elseworlds. And somehow they figure out a way to do that. That indicates that, guess what? We can return to this universe and do the other stories, and then we're good to go. You can even just release it on streaming and just be done with it. Just make that the streaming universe. Because if you have two universes going at the same time, what they could do, they could eventually lead. This is how you lead to a crossover movie. It's like what you could do is at the end of the Flashpoint movie, which was supposed to end this up, it ends up the SnyderVerse side of the universe. But like in a post-credit scene, you could hint at like the Anti-Monitor shows up. And then that's on that side, that's how you set up Crisis. And then you set up Crisis for James Gunn's universe later on. In other words, there are ways to get this done in a simple way. And to be clear, I would be happy, live action or animated or comic. It's fine with it. I'm just saying there is a path where all three of the, what I'm saying is that there is a path to all three of these options. There's a path. There's definitely a path for comics and animation, but there's also one for live action. And I'm sorry, anyone that tells you that no, it's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen in live action. Doesn't remember when the Snyder Cut was announced, because everyone's like, that equally won't happen. Because now we're in a situation where these studios are going to need something, and you may be asking Jared. But the Snyder Cut content hasn't been like written. The scripts haven't been written and filmed and anything like that. How would they do Snyder Cut content? Well, the Ayer Cut. They just drop the Ayer Cut on Max and say, here you go. Because for one thing, I think the strike made the Ayer Cut significantly more likely, because they're going to need content now to bring people in and draw. And with Max losing customers, they could use this, start releasing all these director's cuts, and then you could use that as like a pull to bring people back to Max. So once you do that, and you see that like, oh, the Snyder Cut, the SnyderVerse, the Snyder's version of DC is popular. Let's pursue that on streaming as well, and then do the James Gunn universe in theaters, and then we can do that, and then you can like, you could say Gal Gadot is the Wonder Woman of streaming with the SnyderVerse. You could make Jason Momoa Aquaman in the SnyderVerse, and maybe Lobo in this universe, because you can like make him up so no one really knows it's Jason Momoa. The Lobo to Aquaman change, I think, is a little easier for people, because they'll be like, okay, he's like pale skinned in this movie, but he's Atlantean in the Snyder movie. So that's the way I think they could make that work. So yeah, those are the ways that this could end up working in our favor and ending up with a conclusion to the story, which I'm 100% sure is going to happen in some capacity. Somehow, some way, they are going to conclude the story. If it's comics, fine. I'm going to get every variant cover. If it's animation, also cool. They can even do really realistic live action animation. Think about animation also. It is significantly easier to get the actors involved, because that is a legitimate concern when it comes to doing the SnyderVerse and live action, is getting the actors to come back. If you do animation, you can just tell them, okay, so all we need you to do is just record this stuff, spend a day in a recording booth, record your lines, and you're good to go. You wouldn't have to worry about them being old or anything like that. You're done. Just record it and you're done. So that's an advantage in the animations thing. I still think if it involves Zack Snyder, the actors would come back in a heartbeat, because they've done it in the past so many times. So in conclusion, all three, animation, live action, and comics, are equally likely, and all three can happen at the same time. Like, you could do the Justice League stuff in live action, and do the Batman, Man of Steel 2 and all that stuff in animation or comics. Just that way you can utilize the entire all the different media for DC in order to like in order to complete the story in a satisfying way. So you could get all these, so you can get all the stories that we missed, but obviously focus more on Justice League so that that story is done. And then maybe if it's popular, we could get a Flashpoint, the Snyder. Well, we already got the Flashpoint movie. Maybe Flashpoint as a movie or a comic or anything like that. The most I see happening. Let's say the stars align and it does happen. We're probably just gonna get the Justice League movies. That's about the best. That's the least I could see us getting, and maybe the most. I don't see enough indicator to say more than, and by more than I mean like maybe the Flashpoint movie, particularly in light of the Flash movie coming out and burning, so people could be like, do I really want to see the Flash with the same actor and a similar plot? So that's why I don't think at least the Flash movie is going to come out. Man of Steel 2 maybe, and the Batman maybe could work, but definitely if it happens, it'll probably just be the Justice League movies, which I'm fine with. I'll take it where I can do it. And you can like put in, if they do it like the way I want them to do it, and then I'll wrap up, is I want them to do it like a 2-season streaming service, a series where like season 1 is part 2 and season 2 is part 3. And they can weave in plot points from like Man of Steel 2 and Batman, and like have like episodes that deal with that and stuff. But they don't. In other words, they can try and put all. If they do a streaming series, they can put all this stuff together and make a pretty epic series that you can then watch as like that they can then recut into shorter movies and stuff. So again, that's why I don't think it's over at all. At all. Anyone that's telling you that there's no way this could happen is wrong. I'm sorry, it is wrong. There are too many ways that the story could conclude and that it could be done live action. I'm sorry. That's just the way it works here. So on that note, I will leave you guys. Don't forget that on Thursday I have my collab with Joe Sontag. Really excited about that. On Friday, we are doing, and by Friday, I mean Under Two Capes. We are discussing the Injustice series, like what the series does well, what it doesn't do well, the problems with it, the cool parts of it, and it's all that. And in terms of movie night, we're talking about Karate Kid. Any other content will be revealed shortly. In terms of like Indie Wednesday, I may review a Red Sonja Conan the Barbarian comic that I'm reading right now. So be on the lookout for that. On that note, everyone, stay heroic, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.